Today we are solving one of the programming challenges in the book starting out with Java, and we are still in chapter 7. This program is called Gradebook, and we have to calculate the average grade and letter grade for 5 students. We have to ask the user to enter 5 students' grades and scores. Each student would have 4 tests, and then we have to calculate their average score, and we have to calculate their letter grade. So let's start the program. We will create a class called Gradebook. The first thing we have to create is a char array called letter grade. This would have A, B, C, D, and F. Also, we have to create an array list to store the names of the students. We have to also create a 2D array to store scores of the students. There will be 5 students, and each student would have 4 tests. Then we create a constructor called Gradebook. The constructor will take ArrayList that can take string. We will call student names. Also, the constructor will take 2D array, and we will call student scores, and we will say this, the keyword this refers to the member fields of the class. We'll call this dot student names to student names. Then we have to set up the 2D array. We'll say for int I0, I less than 5, or we could say scores at length. Then we'll say for int j 0, j less than scores of I that length. I is incremented by 1. You could also replace with 4 here, because each student will only have 4 tests, and you could replace this to 5 because there will be only 5 students. After that, you will say scores of I of j equal student scores of I of j. The constructor is finished. After that, we will say string get name to get the name of the student. It will have index student index. We will return names get student index. After that, we have to get the average score for each student. Say double get average. Again, it will take student index. We'll say double total 0. We'll go through the 4 tests, and we will say total plus equal. You could also say total plus whichever you like. Then we say scores of the student we want to calculate their average score. Then I. This first bracket is iterating through all the students, and the second bracket is iterating each student's scores, and we have to add the total to their scores. After that, we have to return the total divided by 4. Could also say 4.0, but they are the same. After that, we have to return get letter grade. The letter grade would take average score. It will say if average grade is greater or equal to 90 and average score is less than or equal to 100, we want to return letter grade of 0, because the zeroth in the index is A. So according to the book description, they said if the average score is between 90 and 100, that means the person gets A. Also, we say else if average score is greater than 80 and average score is less than or equal to 89, they will get a letter grade of 1, which basically means B. So we have to copy this, and we'll say 70 to 79. Paste again, we'll say 60 to 69. But we have to change the letter grade for the 70, between 70 and 79 to 2. And we have to change the letter grade between 60 and 69 to 3. And lastly, we have to say if the letter average grade is between 0 and 59, that means the person gets F, which index 4 has. Otherwise, we will return empty character. Also, I want to return the students, each student's name, average score, and letter grade. Get students, and I will say for int I0, I less than names, that size I is incremented by 1. Then we'll say system out student number I plus 1, new line, tab name, we say names, get I, new line, tab average. You would say get average of I, and we add percentage, new line, tab letter grade, and then we'll say get letter grade. So we have to get average of I, And lastly, we have to add a space between students. So I think that would be it for this class. So we created the class, created three members, char array for letter grade, array list for names, 2D array for scores, create the constructor, we set up the names and the 2D array, we get the name, we get the average of each student, and we get the letter grade for each student, and we print all the students for their names and their average and letter grade. So we have to also create a new class to test this class. We'll say main, and we will say static scanner new scanner system.in. Then we have to create a main method. Also, we have to create an array list that will take string, and we'll call names. Also, we have to create 2D array. We'll call scores, new double. The 2D array will have 5 students, and for test the score for each student. So we'll say for int I0, I less than 5, I is incremented by 1. We will say student number I plus 1 name. Then we will add to our array list the names, add scanner next scanner next line. Then we have to give a space after the name. Also, we have to say int j0, j less than 4, for j is incremented by 1. You'll say tab, you say score number j plus 1 this score, and we have to create a variable called score. Then you say scanner next double. And the reason I am storing in a variable is because they said in the description of this programming challenge that we have to validate the score. The score cannot be a negative number, lower than 0, and it cannot be greater than 100. So we'll say while score is less than 0 or score is greater 100. What do we want to do if that is the case? We will say error score can only be between 0 and 100. After that, we have to store it in a score scanner double. Also, we have to say scanner next line to consume that extra new line that is provided by the scanner class. Also, we have to store the score to the scores array. We'll say scores of I of j equal score. I think we're done for the for loops. After that, we have to instantiate our gradebook. Say gradebook, new gradebook. The gradebook takes two arguments. The first thing is names, and the next thing is scores. The 2D array scores. After that, we have to call getStudents, our method, through the gradebook instance. Say getStudents. So let's test our program and see if we got it right. As you can see, they say student 1 name. We'll say Mike. Mike got 100, 99, 100. How about if I give a negative number? -1. As you can see, the score is not valid. We will say 99. The second name would be Sarah. How about Sarah got 102? Again, that's not allowed. We'll say 88, 88, 88, 88. We'll say James, 77, 77, 77, 77. Max. Max got 66, 66, 66. And lastly, you say Gufran got 0, 55, 44, 33. 17. What's the problem? J. Okay, here's the problem. Instead of saying a score of I that length, we will just say 4, and you will just replace this to 5, and here I will say J. Yeah, I think I misspelled. I used the wrong index. So let's run it again one more time. Okay. For the student 1, his name is Mike. His average score is 100 and his letter grade is A. I think it is correct because here he got all 100. All of his scores is 100. So the first student checks out. The second student, her name is Sarah. She got 88 percent, and her letter grade is B. And as you can see, Sarah got all 88 for her scores. So Sarah checks out. And number 4, his name is Max. He got 66%, and he got letter grade D. So let's check if that is correct. Well, okay, Max got D, but how about James? Number 3. Oh, James got 77% and he got C. So both James and Max check out. How about the last one, Gufran? He got 33% average and letter grade of F. It makes sense because in his case, in his 4 tests, the first score was 0, second was 55, 44, and 33. So it makes sense. So I think we answered all the requirements for this class, for this programming challenge. And I think that would be it. If you want the code, I will post it in GitHub, and I will link it in the description. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.